I won't get onto AI too much. In our industries, you will always still need people.
Yeah, always.
Sitting in a room like we are now,
Yeah.
I think be the future for anybody looking for employment. You're effectively taking more of a regional approach as opposed to just Ashby. We are still local. We
Yeah,
still
definitely.
still understand it, but you do have to look beyond the immediate borders of your office
You
space.
do.
Perhaps a solicitor like you and agents like us.
Yeah.
The value added is that initial advice that you get, because you will save time, money, and ultimately you might get the sale through as opposed to it falling through by not taking that early advice.
Hello and welcome to Fishers on the Case. This is the podcast where we talk to professionals, business owners and industry experts about their lives and their career. My name is Amanda Payne. I'm the host of Fishers on the Case and the CEO of Fishers Solicitors based in Ashby. So in today's episode, I'm very pleased to be talking to Tom Blake, who's with Fisher German. Hello, Tom.
Hi, Amanda. Afternoon.
Yeah, and welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
No, thank you for inviting me.
So today we're just going to talk, we're going to talk about you really. And
It's a very scary thought. Yeah, okay.
So let's just start with, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what do you think you'd have done? Did you have any dreams or ambitions as a child?
Oh God, I think we all had dreams.
Yes.
I'm not sure I fulfilled all of mine.
Right.
My dreams as a child would have probably been something sport related.
Oh, interesting.
But in reality, that was never going to happen.
Okay.
But I probably would have done something that was sport related. I did sports science actually.
At university?
No. I did school, and then you'll probably get onto this, but I did it post school at college, and then there was a potential I was going to look to go into teaching or something of that nature.
Yeah.
But that wasn't necessarily what I suppose. Did I have a plan? When I left school, in truth, no, I probably didn't. But property actually was very early on in my thought processes. I did work experience during GCSEs and such at a chartered surveyor's agents when I was 16 and such. So I did always have a bit of a keen interest in property. Did I see it as my long-term career? If I'm honest, at that point, probably not.
No.
But here we are. Fast forward 4 years. I've been doing it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think drew you to property in the first place? What do you think it was? Just the architecture or and designs?
Drew me to
or
property. I'm massively into architecture. I am. I quite like modern architecture.
Okay.
If
big
I'm honest.
grand designs watcher, are you, that sort of thing? Or?
Yeah, apart from Clever McLeod, I do like grand designs. I don't like any other property program. I'll say that. But I do like modern architecture. I can certainly get into that. But I guess weirdly, where I lived, there was a paddock field next door to us. There was some development going on. I was much younger.
Watching that grow.
Strangely, and I don't know why. I just always had a bit of an interest in perhaps more so construction, and then housing was part of that, obviously. I have nothing really more to add.
No, that's okay.
We can move on
at that
point.
So in terms of what you do now at Fisher German, for those people who don't know, just tell us about your sort of day-to-day job and what you do and what you're in charge of.
So my day-to-day job is very varied. So I operate primarily out of our Ashby de la Zouch office, but I cover much of the Midlands region for agency, rural and residential agency. And that, as you can imagine, is quite varied. And the Midlands is obviously a very big patch. Yeah. So we go over to the west to Staffordshire, capturing then obviously centrally the Ashby territories. Yes. And then we go over to the east to our Market Harbour office. That's what we'd call our Midlands region. So I will handle, by and large, rural and prime, semi-prime property. That's what I generally specialise in. Yeah. I do a little bit of development work as well. We do quite a bit of advisory work also. So although the majority of my job is transactional, I do agency transactional work. I do some advisory work on the back end of that, and I run the team. I run the Midlands team, which is probably 50% of what I actually
do. Is it?
Do.
Yeah, the management.
In truth, well, I say that it's another 50% to everything else that you've got to do.
Yes.
And a day is never ever the same. I'm sure that's the same with you.
Always,
we are very often out of the office. We're very often having to try and work remotely, and at the same time we're viewing property, we're viewing land, viewing potentially development sites. We could be going out to discuss all sorts of strategy meetings with clients, meeting solicitors, meeting fellow professionals. It really is a very, very varied day that we have.
Can I just touch on the rural aspect, because that interests me quite a bit.
Yeah.
What are you seeing now that farmers are doing or not doing? And I think there's probably been a big change in land ownership, hasn't there? And they've been looking at ways of diversifying and doing different things. So just tell me a bit more about what you've been seeing, just generally.
And I can. Although a colleague of mine who would be far better placed to talk to you more about diversification and such would be a farm agent of ours, Richard Gadd. I sell land, I sell rural properties, I don't sell farms.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually a very different
a different area.
Very much, very much so. Very different specialism, actually.
Yes.
And he would say the same. What we do, he couldn't do, and vice versa. We can't do what he does. But it is the rural landscape is a changing one, and I know there's a lot of diversification going on. We do a lot of rural land management. We have a lot of rural clients.
Yes.
There is big shifts in terms of their strategies. Looking to repurpose land for solar purposes, as I'm sure you probably know. For an example, you've got farm shops cropping up.
Jeremy Clark's.
Well, yeah,
For one.
You've got holiday lets. And more we're tending to find, particularly with our traditional estate clients, for example, where holding the estate with your traditional cottages that you would rent out. Now they're moving away from that model and finding ways to perhaps dispose of some of those assets that are on the fringes of the estates and reinvest that money elsewhere, whether within the estate or whether in investments that can perhaps be a little bit more straightforward than tenanted property.
So if you were dealing with like a farmhouse sale, is that now separate to the land?
No, absolutely.
They would often do it all together.
Yeah, we'll do it all together. Yeah. So I mean, a farmhouse is not. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've got a milking parlour next door. It's not. It's not a dairy farm.
No.
Let's say, a farmhouse, as so often is the case, is a nice traditional built property, and there'll be some land attached normally. We will tend to, in our resi rural side of it, we will probably go up to sort of 50 or 60 acres attached to
So
to
still
a property.
Quite a big old area. Yeah.
But then if you were to talk to Richard, a colleague of mine, he'll say that was a big garden, because he'll be selling hundreds of acres.
Yeah.
And it might not be that they're selling that attached with property either. It could just be land that they're selling. So farmhouses, as they were traditionally known, is definitely not the case anymore.
Yeah. And what about barn conversions? Is that still happening a fair amount?
You'll know that we had COVID, and pre-COVID, barn conversions, single plot development and such was all very viable, and it all made sense, and it was still quite a hot market. Post-COVID, where we're almost building out at double the cost that we were building out of pre-COVID, makes these projects far less viable than they once were. And it's quite an interesting thing that we're going through at the moment, and it's a bit of a constant. I get it a lot because the nature of some of our retained clients. We've got a really good planning team as well at Fisher German who often come down with some ideas and what we're going to do, and they often don't like my response, because unless you can get the quantities of scale, so you can get a minimum of 5, 6, 7, 8 plots or so, these projects commercially are not worthwhile.
Oh wow!
Ultimately, if you're taking on a project, let's say it's a barn conversion, you've got to have pretty deep pockets. You've got to have, in my experience, you have to have experience. You've got to have tackled this yourself. You've got to have done something previously. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted. And getting hold of good contractors is also, it's
tough,
just so important nowadays. So, but the point is, and it's happening live at the moment. If you have single plots, it doesn't matter what size it is, when we work through it residually, as we call it, the residual method, to understand the actual value of that plot, very often it's quite a disappointing outcome. And it is trying to translate this to your clients who, historically only 5 or 6 years ago, the uplift was considerable. You get change of use on a barn, you get resi development on your paddock next door, let's say. It used to be not quite life-changing sums of money, but big sums of money. Big sums of money. And now it's not. And it's actually quite a hard sell. So I'm not saying it can't be done, and I'm not saying some projects are better than others, but that's certainly what we're finding.
That's the reality of where we're in, really, then, isn't it? At the minute,
it's the build cost. Yeah. I won't get into build costs with you.
No, we won't get into that.
I can see, I can see you're glazing over.
I know everything's gone up.
Yeah, it has.
But no, in particular, I know from developers we act for, build costs are gone extortionate, haven't they?
Absolutely.
For people. So,
absolutely.
Okay. Well, we'll change the subject now. Subject.
Yeah. Nobody will ever come to me with a barn conversion to sell.
So you talked about managing a team then. What sort of struggles do you face with that sometimes then? What's the hardest part about doing that?
I suppose it's obvious. It's time.
Just time. Yeah, that was good. That would be mine. It's sometimes time, isn't it? Not being able to spend enough time with each and every one of them.
And giving them the time that they need. We work in an industry, particularly an agency, good agency, is in short supply of quality recruits. And we've certainly within the Midlands, we've gone through quite a lot of change in our team. We had a very long, I've been at Fisher Gym 9 years or so now, and we had a really stable period of a team that had been there for quite a long period. And then as it happens, people retire, people move on, things change. And it sort of has to then be rebuilt. And when you're trying to rebuild it from having that sort of 7-8 stable recruits or colleagues, should I say, to actually it being a bit like you're the only one that's really left from that original team. It's quite a low base, and it's hard to do. And I did find it very, very difficult and to find the right people to come in. And I always wanted to be able to say to them, I'm going to give you the time to get you to where we would like you to be and where you want to be. Ultimately,
and bring them on and train them up.
That's the idea. We do have the way and the nature of the clients that we work with, and the nature of the work that we do. You need to have a certain level of experience and know-how. And that doesn't necessarily come.
No. Why do you think it is so hard to recruit?
Why do I think it's so hard?
In our professions, I mean, we struggle too. We struggle too.
For one of a better expression, it's not particularly sexy, is it?
It
isn't. I'm not. We spoke before we started this. I'm not massively into my social medias and all those other things, but I know the world of a 18 to 25-year-old is completely different to when I was an 18 to 25-year-old. I set out to get a career and actually do that for myself. Whereas now I sense that a lot of them are still in that, when you talked about dreams, they're still in the sort of dream phase of their life, and they're quite happy to stay there for as long as possible until they're actually pushed to do otherwise. So it's a hard thing to sell them the dream of property agency or being a solicitor, consultant, whatever it might be. But we are getting there, and you'll know the same, that again around COVID, from an employment perspective, it was very, very difficult. There weren't many people around. Unemployment was very, very low. It was definitely an employees market as opposed to an employers. There's a fine line as to how far you, as employers, you can go to get the right people in.
Definitely.
It boils down to finances, doesn't it, really?
Yeah. And I think nowadays we're competing with a whole load of new industries that didn't used to exist years ago, with the digital age and AI and tech and there's a whole new range of topics and subjects and industries that exist that didn't used to.
That's true. But on the AI point, and I won't get onto AI too much. I won't. But I think we, in our industries, you still need people. You will always still need people.
Yeah, always.
You just will. Whereas actually some of that new form of technology and such, let's say you're in technology or IT, you might very quickly get swallowed up by AI and the capabilities of it. So actually, just to be able to have a conversation, sitting in a room like we are now, will, I think, be the future for anybody looking for employment, as much as being practical as well.
Yes,
But you need to be able to build relationships, because regrettably, AI is going to do a lot of the other things that we've been doing for many years and relied on people to do.
Yeah. Okay. So through your career then, who's sort of been your inspiration? Have you had anybody that you've been able to look up to, and either within the workplace or outside?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'd go back to my second job, which was a small general practice of surveyors and agents called Fiddler Taylor, and we worked out of Derbyshire primarily, and there was a chap there called Adrian Fiddler who was one of the partners.
Yes.
I would say I did actually quietly look up to him.
Did he know?
No, he probably wouldn't know unless he listened to this. But I did. I did respect him. I respected what
learned a lot from him. Sometimes you need good people like that, don't you?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. But it was very hard, and it's very different to how perhaps we now deal with trainees or new recruits. I learned very much by being told I was wrong. And it was like that. It was like it used to be. You trainee, me boss, and so you listen to me, I'm right almost. But it worked, and it gave me really good grounding. And I was at that company, from 2005 or thereabouts to 2017, so I was there a long time. And Adrian was pretty much there the whole of that time as well. And because previous to that, I'd been a couple of years at another smaller agents again locally. And it I was very quickly aware that what I was doing before was probably not what I should have been doing, and I very much appreciated the time that he gave me, and actually the business gave me at that time. They really did invest in me. Yeah.
But now with Fisher German, I mean, what a change Fisher German has had, certainly in the time you've been there as well, and how it's grown well beyond Ashby now, hasn't it?
It
national?
Has.
We're national now?
National,
That's
absolutely.
Fantastic,
So, I left Fiddlers 2017, joined Fisher German pretty much straight away thereafter, and 300 employees at that time, and I think it's 900 or so now.
It's incredible, isn't it?
26 officers.
And is that through merger and acquisition that's
absolutely
happened?
There's been a lot of organic growth.
As well.
Certainly in the early days when I joined, there was a lot of organic growth, and there's been a couple of acquisitions as well in that time. We've diversified. We have. Fisher German was always seen as property management, rural agents. Now we are, a general practice that can offer, from a property consultancy perspective, anything from infrastructure and pipeline work, planning, structural surveyors, agency work, still the property management and commercial, which is a big part of what we've been trying to do, certainly from the commercial perspective, is a push into that sector over the last couple of years. And we're now in cities. We're not just in market towns. It's quite exciting. It is exciting. It's always busy. There's always lots of ideas. There's always lots of new thinking. And it's quite nice that you can be part of it. We are still a partnership. As you guys are.
A traditional partnership.
A traditional partnership, a legacy partnership. That's the intention. And it's cliche, but we do have a voice. It's big enough but it's still small enough. And it doesn't matter if you're in Ashby, which is where the head offices are, or if you're, I know, in Herefordshire or somewhere like that. Everybody does still feel quite connected.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? You've been able to achieve that.
I think so.
So I think that's quite difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
When there's other offices.
Yeah, definitely.
Miles and miles away, and those colleagues will probably never really meet those other colleagues, isn't it? It must be hard to
well, you
keep
do
the family together.
They do a lot of good internal. They do a lot of good internal comms,
which is brilliant. Yes.
A lot of CPD days, or days where
you
we
all
can
get together.
Exactly, where we can all meet up and get together. And
And a lot of charity work as well, which is good. I've noticed.
We do a lot of charity work.
Yes.
We did the Big 25, and again that gets people together. Lots of social events, because there's probably, with the 2 offices we got here, what are there, 180 people or so in Ashby or thereabouts, and we always do try and do events, because that's a lot of people in itself to try and keep together and, as you say, to know one another. So they're managing that quite well.
Okay, brilliant. Oh, it's fantastic. It's really, really good. Really good. So if you could describe Fishers, then our Fishers, what would you say in 3 words? How would you describe us in 3 words?
Trusted, professional, and, oh, golly, I went too quick there.
I can't even think of a third. Goodness.
No, I can. I can. And traditional, but you might not like that. Because
I do. That's very good. No, I do like it. Yeah. I like it.
I consider ourselves as Fisher German still we're quite a forward-thinking business.
Yes, you can still have your traditional values. Yes,
exactly.
Singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah. I think we are quite well aligned in that regard.
Definitely.
Although the common misconception, obviously, we are not in any way connected.
No, we're not. We've looked at it, haven't we, in the back?
Sick and tired of people turning up at our offices asking for Fisher solicitors.
I know.
But no, I do. I do recognise that the firm and our clients always talk about it. Or talk about you.
Yes.
With much enthusiasm and the fact.
Yeah.
That you
well,
get
it's good
so
when we
much
all work
repeat
together,
business.
isn't it? Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We did. We've been studying that a lot this year, actually, and 75 to 80% of our clients and new matters are from existing clients.
Interesting.
Which is a fantastic statistic, isn't it, to put out there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Existing
clients.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Existing clients come back to us. So when we open new matters, we're always asking clients, have they used us before, or where have they heard of us? And
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the same for you. You've got lots of retained clients, haven't you? You've had for years.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
So again, it's that trustedness, isn't it?
Yeah, and they hope they do. They go out and tell other people, and that referral work.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. You do get organic work come in, but a lot of it is word of mouth, and particularly when you'll be the same. You're effectively taking more of a regional approach, so you'll be dealing with people across the whole of the Midlands now, as opposed to just Ashby.
Yeah, just Ashby.
And that's the way it's going. We are still local. We
definitely
still understand it. But you do have to look a little bit more beyond the immediate borders of your office space.
You do, definitely.
So
Okay, brilliant. So I've asked you a few questions. Is there anything you'd like to ask me?
What would I like to ask you?
We're wrapping up.
Yeah, I suppose I'd like to ask you what do you think of Fisher German? You're asking us what you think of Fisher solicitors.
I probably use the same.
Yeah.
Trusted. Well, I would say local actually.
Yeah.
But I probably shouldn't use that word now with you, because I know you've now gone national. But trusted and professional, definitely. Good. Yeah, and friendly, I think.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, because some professionals aren't so friendly.
Yeah.
But everyone I've ever dealt with at Fisher German has always been very welcoming and very friendly and very approachable, and always happy to help if there was any need for help. So
we have collaborated once or twice, haven't we, Amanda?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good because we all work together. We're all trying to get to the same end goal, aren't we?
Okay. And the challenges you face, you foresee?
Wow. Just we're looking to sort of grow a little and grow organically, I think, as well in other areas, and in particular into Derby and Derbyshire. So we'll see how that goes over the coming months. But that's our little project that we need to probably focus a bit more on as we move through the next year or two. we've learnt that work doesn't always just automatically drop at your door. We're very lucky here. We've been here, umpteen years, and we're known. And I've said a lot of our continued work comes from people that have used us before, but to move into newer markets where you're not known as well, it's tougher than I think we thought it was going to be. So that's our next project and what we're next working towards.
Exciting. You have to do more too social.
Yes, that's it. Do some more socials.
Some BD.
Yeah. Well, we always said we'd have a group of us meet a group of you, and I don't think we've done that yet. That's been going back years. Years. We should do that. We should do that. Yeah, get some of your commercial guys. So if you've got a new client perhaps approach you, is there any sort of top tips that you could give them straight away to think about?
Well, depending on the nature of the property, but let's assume it's what we're used to dealing with. It's high value. It's rural. It might be quite complicated. Believe it or not, and this isn't set up, but one of the first things we would tell somebody to do actually is make sure their solicitor's got a file open, and they've started the early engagement with their solicitors.
Okay.
It is so well. I suppose it's no surprise. I think the national average is something like 29-30% of sales fall through, and I would say that a lot of that is probably due to the fact that the early due diligence on a file or on a property going to the market has not been completed, and you shouldn't be so fast to just. It's the common misconception of what agents do. Really, we genuinely do more than just take some photographs of a property, put it on portals and put a board up and wait for the phone to ring. I mean, that is part of it. There's a lot more that goes on in that marketing side as well from a proactive perspective. But actually now one of the biggest things that we do is getting the transaction over the line and making sure that it's set up in the first instance that we know that when we get it under offer, it's going to go over the line. I mean, don't get me wrong, there'll always be things that crop up along the way. There will, but we're pretty good with dealing with them. But it is engaging early with your solicitor. It's engaging, maybe there's some planning considerations that you have to look into. That will save so much time down the line. And actually, quite honestly, that's the biggest difference with dealing with, I don't know, perhaps a solicitor like you and agents like us. There may be, for want of a better expression, more of a high street approach where there might be a little bit cheaper. The value added is that initial advice that you get from us, from your solicitor, because you will save time and effectively save money, and ultimately you might get the sale through as opposed to it falling through by not taking that early advice and
tackle any issues early. You just
got to. We live in such a transparent world now.
Yeah. The data's available, isn't it?
Well, and everybody's an expert. We touched upon AI, but it's quite a dangerous tool, and we often get things quoted at us that you
can tell where it's come from.
Yeah, 100%. and so we need to make sure that, or you need to make sure that you are being transparent. You can't hide away from these things. If your solicitor doesn't tell you about it, the lender on the other side and their solicitor will. It just can't be bypassed now. We do not live in that world, and it's changed a lot, a huge amount in the 20 plus years I've been doing it. So much so, even if you've got a ready and willing cash buyer, still the same amount of due diligence will be requested.
Absolutely.
It just will, because as frustrating as it might be for those on the outside looking in, the solicitor acting for that cash buyer is acting in their client's best interest, and they're not just going to let them spend however much without making sure the relevant checks have been done.
Well, I absolutely agree, and it's a big I'm a big advocate of getting ready as your property goes on the market for sale to make sure that everything is checked off, forms are filled in, we can check we've got all the documents we need from the client in good time, so that once that offer is accepted, we're good and ready to go and issue the contract pack out straight away. I know some firms are not so keen on that, and there can be a few weeks delay before you even get a contract pack because they've not been working in advance. So I'm all for getting ready early. And
in a market like it is at the moment, which is very competitive, it's also quite fickle. People perhaps don't buy property as they once did. They don't necessarily fall in love with it. They see it more as a commodity. So if something's delaying it, or the slightest thing looks like it's going to delay it, they won't hesitate to look elsewhere. And if something else catches their eye, they'll move on. So you must, as you rightly say, you've got to keep the momentum. You've got to keep them interested. You've got to have your solicitor issuing that draft contract and
really
pre-contract
quickly.
inquiries really quickly, and get everybody engaged. Because yes, regrettably, the people do change their mind very quickly nowadays.
Well, thank you very much, Tom, for joining us
not
today.
at all.
Really enjoyed catching
not
up.
at all. Thank you for inviting me.
See you
Appreciate
soon.
it.
Thank you.
Cheers.